much. Just ready to do some science.
Some science.
Yeah, we're gonna kill our presentation for BIB 135, Aquatic Ecology, with the amazing Dr. Jonathan Shurin.
Presentation PowerPoint? I thought we were gonna make a video.
A video?
Yeah. That'd be way easier.
Then a PowerPoint?
Yeah.
No, bro.
Alright, well, you get started on it.
Alright, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Which one do you want to do?
I'll do the first one about Carpenter.
Alright, I'll get started on Wang.
Finish mine. Pretty easy.
Yeah, me too.
So why is your study interesting and important?
We have ecosystems, right? They deal with water, fisheries, productivity, and they provide ecosystem services. And those services, they're worth a lot. There's intrinsic and extrinsic values to the ecosystems. Say we have a good, healthy ecosystem, but then that ecosystem goes bad, seemingly out of nowhere. Well, we can use early warning signals to see the coming catastrophe. So we have good ecosystems hit by nonlinear regime shifts, which are big surprises. In this case, we hate surprises because we like our ecosystem to be stable, we want them to provide for us, all that good stuff. The main question of this article is to see if we can actually avoid catastrophe. We have the theories of early warning signals, but it's rarely been tested, especially with whole ecosystems. They decided to test if it would work by inducing a regime shift to see if there would be warning signals that there was actually something going on. You want to know what methods they did? What methods they did? Well, let me tell you. We have two lakes. Largemouth bass is a top predator in Lake 2. Lake 1 is full of planktivorous fish, which eat zooplankton and phytoplankton. So they took the largemouth bass and added it to Lake 1 over 3 years to destabilize its food web and cause a catastrophe. The addition of the top predator would cause trophic cascades, which would alter the food web, primary production, ecosystem respiration, and nutrient cycling of Lake 1. After adding the bass, they measured the amount of planktivorous fish, zooplankton, and phytoplankton daily for 3 years, while Lake 2 acted as a reference ecosystem compared to Lake 1. By adding the largemouth bass, there would be a trigger recruitment of juvenile bass who would shift from being planktivorous to omnivorous, adding benthos and fish to their diet. 39 largemouth bass at the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they added in another 12 during that first year, right?
Yep.
And then they added in around, 30 the second year, right? So this enhancement of large adult bass mouth caused a huge recruitment event. Guess how many were there by day 240 or so in year 2? Guess how many?
Like 12?
No. 12? No. It's 12. They had 1,280 more.
Damn.
You know how much that is compared to that? It's a lot. So zooplankton and Daft pool lakes would vastly increase in size and presence in Lake 1. Zooplankton and phytoplankton would enter cyclic oscillations due to increased grazing. The food web transition period during this time would be completely unstable. You would see shoaling, aka fish swimming in groups to protect themselves from predators, species replacement, and planktivorous fish would reach low density. Lake 1 would shift to become more and more like Lake 2. In Lake A, the one that got added stuff, was nearly identical to Lake B, the one that had largemouth bass previously. So the spatial pattern of the plankton was actually kind of patchy during year 1 and 2 of the study, right?
Okay.
But it's during year 3 where it became patchy more often and for a longer time during year 3. To start, they were like this. One of them had the largemouth bass, one of them did not. You added in the largemouth bass as predator. 3 years later, similar levels of chlorophyll, zooplankton biomass, and the amount of planktivore fish between the lakes was pretty damn similar. What conclusions did the study draw? Well, warning signals of a regime shift in Lake 1 were evident more than a year before the food web transition was complete. Completion of convergence of food webs doesn't actually need to be observed, since to actually be early warning signals / useful, the warnings must preclude that convergence. The mechanism of nonlinear transitions were not known, but it doesn't matter since the indicators are useful even when the form of regime shift is not known. As long as we know the indicators are there, then that's all we need. So the study did not assess whether by using early warning signals if we could reverse these regime shifts, but modeling says some but not all could. So in the future, that's something to look at in future experiments. Early warning signals are really useful for managing ecosystem services, and those services are dear and near to all of us. We need them to make sure that there's no unwanted shifts in freshwater quality. We need to make sure that there's production of fisheries and rangelands, so we get, food. So food and water is very popular amongst everyone in this room, I assume. So we need to make sure that these catastrophes are prevented by using these early warning signals. Early warning signals in research could reveal new indicators of vulnerability to large environmental changes. This can make sure that we improve our ecosystem management, that we can make sure that we're prepped for the future, and that we're not hit by catastrophes, that we don't get T-boned, by things we just don't see.
Why is it interesting? Because science. Why is it important though? That's the real question. See, there's a recognized need to anticipate these tipping points in the socio-ecological systems. Shifts between the alternative basins go back and forth, jumping between each other, and this is called flickering. Classic tipping points are like a critical slowing down, which the experiment doesn't go into what that means or why, but I didn't look it up. So, anyways, flickering is what we're interested in. Flickering with Wang. So they also took sediment cores from 3 different lakes and determined the radionuclide of carbon, lead, and cesium, because they studied the lake all the way back until the early 1200s. The lakes go all the way back 750 years in the study.
That's a long time.
It's crazy long, almost as long as Monday's presentations. So lastly, they used a multi-decadal time series from a lake together with model simulations that show that flickering, which is this,
Wait, what's on the top and what's on the side?
good question. X-axis is time,
Like, time?
like time, 750 years time. These are a lot of different things. So these were temperature, head capsules, TC percentage, crop production, rainfall, and a whole lot more.
Wow.
All this stuff starts to flicker when there's a eutrophication process happening. So what did they find, you ask? Well, they mainly studied this lake in China called Erhai Lake, and in 2001, it classically developed into a bistable system. It's like bicycle. There's 2 cycles. So something that's bistable has 2 equilibrium states. So this lake can ride its 2 different equilibrium states and flicker up and down. Numero uno, the observed multi-decadal increases in nutrient loading as a result of crop yield increases are consistent with the action of a slow, non-stationary driving variable that continues through the shift in diatom states. Traso, the number of low diatom communities suggests that system bistability is a recent phenomenon and that multi-decadal data show evidence for increasing bimodality, hence being more bistable. Lastly, comparing a diatom phase plot with the total dissolved phosphorus in the system shows evidence of alternate states of hysteris. Hysteris is when the physical property lags behind the effect that's causing that property to happen. So, we have some kind of axis here. This is time, and this is the effect causing it, and the physical property catches up to it finally after a little while. You know what that looks like?
What?
Daphnia.
What?
The Daphnia. That the decline in skewness and autocorrelation suggests that the increased variance cannot be described by a critical slowing down, must be described and concluded on flickering. Unfortunately, Wang's data was much too sparse to have a full potential analysis. However, evidence of flickering at that China lake, Erhai, exists in the form of observed eutrophication events, algae blooms. Algal blooms. Right? Blooming algals. Like green stuff, but blooming. It's pretty. The system dynamics changed on a multi-decadal time scale, and the critical transition in about 2001 was presaged by signals of rising variance caused by flickering in the last 10 to 30 years. This previously was similar to the timescale that was found in the mathematical models I showed before of lake regime shifts that have previously been tested on. So what conclusions did they draw? Well, first off, in systems in which exogenous drivers result in high levels of disturbance, you cannot model it based on the critical slowing down. However, you must use flickering. Second, flickering will produce a rise in variance coupled with a decrease in skewness and autocorrelation at low time resolutions.
Wow.
Third, he found that a flickering signal in a modern system can be considered a direct warning that the system has left the safe operating space. Numero 4. The potential advantages and ease of finding flickering signals suggests that this opportunity should be taken to observe every multi-decadal time series of the modern socio-ecological systems. No more critical slowing down, because even if the data available is of low resolution, we can still find it using flickering with Wang. So we need water for everything. All this fresh water, we can't let it get messed up. We can't let it get messed up. We need to save it. And if we're able to determine when it's going to transfer into a eutrophic state, we got to use flickering, because that's way better even if we have those low resolution datas. So when we use flickering, we'll be able to better determine when that lake is going to evolve into a eutrophic state, in which we might be able to reverse the process and rejuvenate it back to its original state. Or if we realize that it's gone on too long and there's nothing we can do, flickering will be able to tell us when it is too late, and we can pull out and no longer use those nutrients and those essential things that it has given us.
Wow. That was a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess that's how you prevent catastrophes, right?
Yeah. Use flickering and put base in water, bath.
Predators, yeah. Early warnings. So what kind of pizza do you think we're going to get?
Definitely anchovies.
I filled out my cape. Did you?
I did.
I really want pizza. Man, I'm hungry.
I want to put bass on my pizza.
So just to reiterate, preventing catastrophes, it's very important that we recognize when lakes are changing or ecosystems are changing their systems, because that can throw lots of things into disarray. We need those things for the ecosystem services, for the food they provide, for the water, the shelter. It's a whole big thing.
It's a circle of life, man.
I guess today we learned something.
I guess so. That's the first. I learned about Wang and how he flickers, and you learned about bass and in their lakes and stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Better than frogs.
That's right. Ecology. It's important.
Should we say that at the end?